Hello everyone, Chris with Home Team Epic and I Think Realty. And in today's video, I want to talk a little bit about walkthrough woes. So these are 7 things that cause pre-closing stress. So for those who don't know, there's a lot of different steps to the home buying process. You have your home inspection, which usually takes place at the very beginning of the buying process, so just after you go under contract. There's an appraisal that happens somewhere in the middle, maybe towards the end. And then right before you close, after you've gotten a clear to close from your lender typically, you do a final walkthrough. And the purpose of the final walkthrough is basically to make sure the house is in the same condition or similar condition as it was when you put your offer in. In other words, that you're not going to have any surprises. So there are a number of things that can come up at a final walkthrough, and I've had some of these happen to me. You know, when you walk through the home, in most situations, there's someone living there. So all their furniture and stuff is in the house. And that's true also during the home inspection. So the home inspection is just looking at what is visible to the naked eye without moving stuff. So no one's lifting up the sofa or the cabinets or bookshelves or anything else to see what's underneath. And so one of the things that comes up when you do a final walkthrough is, for this first time, you might notice discolorations in the flooring. And that discoloration might not be because of anything wrong with the house. It's a case of that part of the floor was covered all the time and shaded, so it wasn't exposed to sunlight, and sunlight can fade things. It may not be, and certainly not anything that the buyer necessarily knew or the seller knew about, because they didn't see it until they moved the furniture. So that's one of the things that can kind of come up, and oftentimes the first time you notice it is during that final walkthrough. The second thing, and it's related to the first one, is walls with imperfections. So again, if you've got bookshelves up against the wall, kind of things like that, you may not notice scratches or imperfections in the paint job on the walls. And so the first time you'll notice that sometimes is with that final walkthrough. Now that's probably even less of an issue than the flooring, because a little paint can take care of that. Harder to fix the floors. Although we always tell people, when you're looking at a home, pay attention to the bones of the home, not the decor, because that's all stuff you can actually take care of relatively easily while you're living in the home. So if the flooring's really bothering you, that's something you can take care of after you get settled in the home and decide what kind of flooring actually suits your lifestyle. Maybe it's carpet now, but you have dogs, and so you don't want carpet anymore anyway. So the discolored carpet doesn't matter, because you want to really put some kind of hard flooring in it, whether it's tile, laminate, or vinyl. All right, so the third thing that comes up is, and this one is the biggest pain in the butt for a realtor, what stays and what goes. Generally speaking, if it's attached to the home, it conveys or goes with the home. If it's not attached to the home, then it goes with the person, okay? Usually your major appliances stay, with the exception of washer and dryer, but refrigerators, ovens, things like that usually stay. What gets tricky is things like television mounts, TVs that are on the television mounts. One of the most important things is to be really clear in the contract about what you're expecting to stay versus what leaves. And then where this gets really complicated is where the home is coming furnished. Well, is it coming fully furnished, meaning everything stays? Does furnishing include personal items like linens and towels and utensils and things like that? What do we mean by fully furnished? Or turnkey, that's another word that realtors use. The most important thing is to be clear about that up front. Both realtors can help you be clear on expectations as far as what's going to stay and what's going to go. And it's really up to both realtors to work together on that and making sure there's clarification on that, so that there isn't any disappointments when you walk into the home for that final walkthrough. I know we had a situation where we had the buyer and the seller removed the thermostat and because it was a smart thermostat and a ceiling fan in the living room, and they just put up a tiny ceiling fan that in no way could actually circulate air well enough in the living room. They put essentially a bathroom fan in the living room. So we had to negotiate that before closing and get that resolved so that the buyer or the seller put a similar thermostat in and a ceiling fan that at least could circulate the air in the big living room. But we noticed that at final walkthrough, so we were able to correct that before closing. You definitely want to make sure you do the final walkthrough so you can notice things like that and address it before you close. Once you sign, that's it. There's really nothing that can be done at that point save a lawsuit, which for a ceiling fan and a thermostat really wouldn't be worth it. You'd be spending more on the lawsuit than you would on just buying those things yourself. The next thing that comes up in final walkthrough is yard and landscaping matters. That can be easy as a seller. They're so busy packing up the home and getting out of there that they neglect the outside of the home, and so maybe the lawn needs to be mowed or things got out of control as far as weeding and stuff. So if you're a seller, probably making sure you maintain that home and the outside, including the outside of the home, all the way up to closing. That way the buyer's not walking into a landscaping mess. The next thing is cleanliness, and we've had this come up as well, where we usually say the home needs to be broom clean. Meaning that you've swept it up. It doesn't have to be spotless because moving in and of itself is messy. But if you really want to be a nice seller, you could pay for a home cleaner to come in after you've got everything moved out to do a once over on the home to leave it in good condition for the seller. That's kind of the nice and courteous thing to do. But not every seller can do that. Buyers got to have expectations that there's going to be some imperfections in terms of the cleanliness. Plus, everyone has different standards as to what they determine is clean versus not clean. So having reasonable expectations as a buyer for what that home, the condition of the home is going to be when you move into it. You also could pay for a cleaner to come in and clean the home before you move your stuff in. Too often I've seen situations where the buyer's already got the mover scheduled for the moment that closing happens, and so there's no time to get a cleaner in there before you've actually started moving your stuff in, and it could be easier for that cleaner to come in and just clean a vacant house. Trash, debris, and unwanted items. I had this happen where a seller left a whole bunch of stuff at the curb. A few things in the house, but those weren't agreed to. It was supposed to be an unfurnished house. So ultimately, as a realtor, I went and helped them clean out the home and even remove stuff from the curb to get it to a dump, so that it wasn't something the buyers had to take care of, because you don't want. It's not fair for the buyers to have to get rid of the seller's trash and junk and unwanted items. I've actually had that happen on a couple of occasions where I had to go and clean it out, but don't expect your realtor to do that all the time. And then the final thing that causes problems at final walkthrough is keys, fobs, garage door openers, security codes, gate clickers, and access cards. Basically, whatever you need to access everything in the community. If you've got a gate code, making sure that transfers, you've got shared that information, garage door openers. I can't tell you how many times the seller's left and the garage door opener is still in their car. They forget to take it out and leave it in the house. Making sure you get all the spare keys, all those keys you gave to neighbors, getting those in the house or to your realtor at closing so that we can turn those over to the buyer. Buyers, I always recommend you change the locks anyway, because even though the seller may have done their best to get all the keys, you don't know how many copies of the key is out there, so I would go ahead and get the doors locked. So anyway, those are 7 things that cause pre-closing stress, and some ways to resolve them or remedy them or hopefully avoid them. I hope you found this information helpful. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you yourself have come up across something else that happened in a pre-closing walkthrough, let us know in the comments. Have a great day.